And one of our local poets has received some recognition for the work he wrote about one of his favourites. Our very own cricket tragic, Peter Langston, joins us in the studio this morning. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Phil. Welcome back. I was surprised they didn't play the Welcome Back Cotter thing.
I even watched the first episode of that I've ever seen on morning television time that I ever
And
saw.
probably the only one
Might be the only
you'll
one.
ever see, yes.
Well, this is very exciting news, but what memories do you have of watching Doug Walters as a child?
Look, he fascinated me first in black and white because there was no colour TV. I used to just love the way he'd stand to attention and clip that ball through the mid-wicket area. And of course the famous Walters square cut, which brought him as many runs as it did outs. But I love the way he played his cricket. And then as a 12-year-old, of course the subject of this poem, I first saw him play at the Sydney Cricket Ground, and he performed for me. Got 242 and 103 in the second innings, the first player to ever get the double in a single in the one test. And the 240 odd, I actually scored most of it in the back of an old exercise book in tally marks. I wish I still had it, but yeah. And so they were very warm and rich memories. And I suppose that's kind of what led to the poem. I was reflecting on what it was like to be a boy, and the things about being a boy that I cherish so much. I remember that I was the secretary of the Cricket Association up there, and was very lucky during the days when they used to have what were called the Tooheys Cup games, where Armidale played Tamworth. And I met him several times, and sat at dinner with him, beside him twice, and you would never know he was Doug Walters, superstar, one of Australia's greatest. He was just a bloke who liked to tell you tales.
What did you ask him about as you sat next to him during those dinners?
I just listened a lot. We talked about the usual things: who's the fastest bowler you've faced, but we ended up talking a lot about his neighbours, and he had a Chinese neighbour he used to play golf with, and how hopeless he was, and yeah, a lot of stuff like that. He just used to like to talk. He'd talk about pretty much like Johnny Gleeson will do here in Tamworth. He'll tell you all about that stuff, but they really enjoy just having a conversation. They're just like, and that's the thing about Walters. He's just a bloke. He's just a normal, average kind of guy.
So when Dougie did the double, when did you actually write the poem?
It was written in 2007, and it was one of those poems that came to me reasonably quickly. It's been worked over a bit since. In fact, since it's even appeared in the first collection of poetry, 6 Nines, I changed the title slightly and added an extra line at the end. But yeah, it was one of those ones where I just kept thinking about, the big image in it for me was the fact that cricket to me was black and white, because that's what I watched it on television. And walking past the old Sheridan stand, coming in that end, the Randwick end, suddenly everything was just in colour, and it was just this mosaic of toweling hats and coloured shirts and the green mown. I'd never seen a mown oval with those wonderful squares that somehow magically appear when they mow, and the West Indians came out, and they were, I'm not saying anything rude here, but they were different shades than I expected, and taller. Everyone was so huge. Yeah, so it was those, to a 12-year-old boy, those sorts of impressions are just so stark, and they've never left me. They're still there, and I suppose as a writer I get to express those.
Explore it. What were you trying then to explore in this poem about Dougie? What essence of him did you want to capture in your verse?
To be honest and truthful, this is about Doug Walters as he is really the context, I suppose. That's the setting. A lot of this poem is about me. It's about a 12-year-old boy discovering things that are very different than what he expected, having all of my emotions expanded in many directions at once. The senses of it, the smell, the sound of a cricket ball on a willow bat being hit across the oval is it's sort of like a gunshot, but it's not anything you hear on a suburban cricket ground when it's in a big oval with lots of people in there. So I guess the poem is about me, and then Walters as my hero, as he was then, and I guess if I was honest, a 55-year-old man shouldn't still be having heroes, but to me he is still my hero.
Of course you should. No, I think that's great. Can we ask you to read the poem
Sure.
now?
Yep.
And we'll talk a little bit about what will happen tomorrow when we finish.
Okay, well, This is when Dougie did the double. Summer blazed in grainy black and white until I walked through a TV window, past stands of old corrugated iron and older wood, into the vivid colours of my youth, and found a new home between the Randwick and the Paddington ends. White skins were pink and brown, and black came in different shades, as a battle between willow and leather made the sounds of resonant gunshots across an oval billiard table of deep green, light green mown magic. I passed my first test, watching the first. National service done, but still he stood to attention to clip laconically to leg or pull with surprising violence, and all recorded in scribbled tallies in the vacant back pages of 6th class maths. Such days, such firsts, never to be repeated, never to be forgotten. Heroes dressed as heroes are, all stains and flaws lost in the whiteness, all the same, all different. All heroes through 12-year-old senses, fresh to colour and sounds and smells, too big to imagine or rich to swallow without savouring the sensation. Cut grass aromas new just now, a bobbing toweling hat mosaic in hues so bright I still squint, cheering politeness to both victor and vanquished, and a crowd wit still entertaining down this winding corridor of years. Wonders not lost on an ageing boy's spirit. I was there. I still am.
That's fantastic. I was there too, with you then. Where do you go when you read that? That's brilliant.
Oh, back there.
Okay.
Yeah, I can still see the bench wooden seats in the Sheridan stand, and there's other memories that were associated with that as well. We went for 2 days. That was the first of them. And on the second day, Eric Freeman hit a 6 which landed just above my head on the stand and on the corrugated iron and rolled back down again. So still hear it.
So how did you come to, I guess, have the poem recognised by the SCG? How did it all happen?
Yeah, it was. It's one of those sort of chance sort of things that happen, and a bit along the Bob Hudson line of don't ever let a good chance go by. I knew about the exhibition that they were having at the SCG Museum. I was aware of it about a week or so before the test. So because I'd spent many years at the Sydney Cricket Ground, I'm not sure I can count how many tests I've seen there, I thought, well, I'll send the poem down, and I put it in an email, and I said, look, I've had great experiences at the SCG. If in some way you can use this and it's helpful, that's fine. If not, well, no harm done. And I heard nothing about it. I didn't really expect to. I mean, they must have contributions from lots of people. And I was sitting there on the, I think it must have been the second day, and Michael Clarke was nearing his double century, and I was just reflecting, and Ponting was going well. I was reflecting on how lucky I was to actually be there on that day and see that happen. And an email arrived on my phone telling me he'd been selected. So
at that moment, as Michael Clarke's about to score his double century.
I think he was on 192. So you were asking before about how far people had travelled during the holidays.
Yes.
Well, I went to the moon and back that afternoon, I can tell you.
So you've got us there.
Afraid so.
Wow, and what did you say when they told you?
Well, I was really excited. I mean, I sent an email back. You could sort of try not to gush too much, but it was along the lines of, well, look, that'd be fantastic, and I'll be in touch and see when I can come down and have a look, etc. Or could I have a look during the test, but it was not possible because of security reasons for the members stand. But the worst of it, I'm sitting in a crowd of 25,000 people and I couldn't tell anyone. And for anyone that knows me, that was hell.
So what will happen tomorrow?
Well, on Wednesday we're actually going for a viewing with the curator, Leah Domansky, is taking us for a walk through the museum, and she'll be explaining the various things on exhibit, and I'll get to see the poem, which is actually going to be hanging beside, and this is to me the delicious irony, is actually going to be hanging beside the very cap that Doug wore on that day. The very cap, because in those days, not like now where they hand you one baggy green, it's revered and you keep it your whole career unless it's damaged. They virtually handed out a new cap every summer. But the very one he wore on the day that I've written the poem about is what's going to hang beside the poem.
How extraordinary. We're catching up with Peter Langston, the cricket tragic, one of our cricket tragics on a Friday morning, and his poem When Dougie Did The Double is on display currently at the SCG. And he's heading down to have a special tour and check it out. Has Doug Walters read the poem?
I wish I could say yes. I have no idea. I have no idea. I've got no idea. I mean, it'd be lovely if he had, but I don't know.
You should send him a copy.
Well, possibly I should, but one doesn't wish to be presumptuous in these things. You know, I'm very grateful for being selected, and I'm always grateful when people enjoy my poetry. Quite frankly, even if they don't, the fact that they react to it is really the thing. As a writer, you like to share what's running around in your head for mental health reasons, apart from anything else. But you want to share. You want to say, well, this is what I was thinking about. What do you reckon? And so to have this selected in, you know, a couple of months ago when I had a poem selected for NERAM for the 1,000 words, and to think that I've got my poetry hanging beside a Brett Wiley painting, and now beside Doug Walters' cap. Please don't ask me to choose which one I think's better. But yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah, it's hard to put into words. It's fantastic, obviously. It's recognition, it's all those things. But yeah, you don't actually write it for that purpose. Whereas, and again, this is going to sound overly humble, but if someone said to me, "Gee, I read the Dougie Did the Double poem," I went to a match and blah blah blah, and if it takes them back there, then to me I only need that from one person. You know, the expressive sort of. It's nice gloss, it's lovely, I appreciate it, but you don't expect it, ever.
Well, congratulations, and it's a real thrill to be able to share a little bit with you as well of I know how much it means to you to have it shown and how much cricket means to you as well, so congratulations.
Well, I'm back from the moon and my head's about the right size again, so...
Thank you again, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks,
really looking forward to catching up on Friday to pick apart the series that has been. We might need a couple of
There's
hours.
parts of it I'm not looking forward to.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it a great deal. I've got some plans in place already.
I bet you have.
But congratulations, and thank you again.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Congratulations. Peter Langston there, the cricket tragic, and his work that when Dougie did the double on display at the SCG. It's 9 minutes to 11.